Okay, so Kelsey and I are going to be talking tonight about why most coaches quit, and I feel like the reason I was it's very ironic that all four of us are on this call. I just really feel like this one resonates with all of us this week. But I definitely was planning on doing this topic before really any of this happened, so I feel like this is going to be just a good reminder for everyone on our team and a good boost of energy and confidence and just pushing through those peaks and valleys that we have as coaches. So Kelsey, I actually would love for you to go first to share your story and your journey and your feedback for our team. I definitely feel like you have a really good insight into why most coaches quit and either never return or they eventually come back.
Okay, I will go ahead. So I actually, Emily's probably going to be like, I heard this information before because, hi, I think Amy maybe just joined.
Yeah.
Hi, Amy. So I actually looked back at my notes from Summit because I very clearly remember one of our breakout sessions we talked about this. And so I looked back a lot of my notes from that. And Anita Myron talked about this. So she's my model. I'm obsessed with Anita Myron. So I was like, oh, great. This is awesome. I love her story. But anyways, I very clearly remember her telling me or telling the group that it's not our responsibility. She said, okay, this is what I've written down. Not our responsibility to make them successful, give them the tools and let them fly. So obviously it is important. It's important as coaches to make sure that we are giving our new coaches the resources to succeed and the avenue to succeed, but it's not our responsibility to make them want this. And I think that's something that's really hard to let go of. So I struggle with this. When I onboard new coaches, I want them so badly to succeed. And whatever that version of success looks like to them, I want them to hit that. And when they don't, it's really easy to get discouraged in yourself and what you're doing in your journey. What did I not do right? Why didn't they succeed? And so I think it's really important to just remind yourself, okay, am I doing everything I can do to make sure that they're being successful? And if so, then that's all you can do. You have to learn to let it go. So a few things that I wrote down that I was thinking back to coaches that I've had that have quit. First off, they don't have a why that keeps them going. So I think whatever your why is, you need to figure that out. And that's something I have written down in bold writing on the top of my journal. So when you're meeting with new coaches, ask them why did they want to join you? What was their reasoning for wanting to be a coach? And everyone's why is going to be different, and that's totally okay. But I think the important thing is just to remember what your why is. And it's important for us to know that about our coaches, so that when we see our coaches going into a struggle or a rough patch, we can remind them hey, you told me this is why you started this journey. And I see you're struggling right now. Let's go back and remember your why. So they don't have a why. That's one reason I see coaches quit. Another reason is they just don't have enough patience or consistency in the process. So I remember when I first started as a coach. This is my second go-around as a coach also. I don't know if all of you know that, but I actually started as a coach in 2014, and I quit because I didn't have patience, because I wasn't seeing success right away. And I was like, see ya, this isn't for me, because I wanted instant gratification like we all do. And I didn't realize at that point that's not how this process works. And so when I started the second go-around, I remember reading through the files that Nicole has laid out on the team page, and one of them said something don't quit 5 minutes before the miracle, or something along the lines of that. And that still stuck with me. I mean, a year later, I still remember that. New coaches, they're so eager to get going, which is awesome. You tend to see a lot of success, right off the bat. They hit really high success numbers. They might hit Emerald right away, all these great things. And then they kind of get into a slump where they forget to continue to invite. Like, they've reached their warm market, they've reached all the people close to them, and then they forget to like consistently follow up and grow their market, and then they kind of just get at this like slump where they just kind of sit there. And the truth is, they're not being consistent, and they're not giving this process the patience that it deserves. This is not a get rich quick fix like overnight. Like, it's not going to happen like that. And so I think that's another important thing to remind your new coaches. Like, this is going to take consistency. This is going to take time, and this is going to take your patience and trust in the process. So again, I've seen a few of my coaches like hit that like slump after like month 2 or 3, where they've kind of like maxed out on their warm market, and they haven't continued to grow themselves and to grow their journey with others, and then they just kind of get stuck. And one solution that I kind of have to all of these things that I'm actually working on right now, Emily might laugh because I remember telling her this at Summit when I was listening to this call, or this topic, I guess, in person. But I remember saying, like, I want to do like a something new to onboard coaches. And so everyone has their own way of how they're going to onboard coaches. But one of our top coaches, I can't remember who it was, said something about doing like a daily the first 7 days, doing a daily like, hey, here's your assignment today, like kind of breaking down the steps even further. Obviously, it's going to be overwhelming, and I think that's important to remind your coaches of, but kind of breaking down like a list of like things for them to do each day for the first 7 days in the business to make sure they get themselves up and running, and set expectations with them right away, and give them the positive and encouraging environment that they deserve. I didn't have that my first go around. I didn't have a community to fall back on, and to me, I feel like that's a huge reason why I quit the first time, is I didn't have a community like this to fall back on. I didn't have weekly calls. I didn't have girls that I could like ask a quick question to. Like, I just didn't feel like I had that environment. So give that environment to those that want this journey, because obviously that's gotten us to where we are. And then a few other things I had was we become stagnant in our own journeys. So I actually posted a video about this like a month ago, and I had a ton of people comment on it. I did a live video about being stagnant in our own workouts because sometimes, I don't know if you guys can relate, but like you get into like a workout routine and you forget to like up your weights, or you just continue to do your push-ups on your knees and you don't try to do one on your toes, or whatever it might be. Like, you just become stagnant, and then you kind of just hit like a plateau again. Like, as I was talking about with a very new coach, like after a few months they kind of just hit a plateau, and I find myself doing that in my physical journey, and I've also found myself doing this in my coaching journey. Like, just as I need to continue to up my weights and to try to do something a little bit harder when I do my workouts, I need to go a little bit more outside of my comfort zone when I'm inviting. And I need to do something a little bit more scary than the usual in my business, or it's not going to move forward. So I think that's another really great point to remind your new coaches. Like, you have to be willing to step outside your comfort zone and to do something you've never done to grow your business. Like, look at top coaches, like look at Melanie Mitro. Like, no doubt in my mind did she do a lot of things that were really scary for her at first to get her to be the #1 coach in the network. And it took time and consistency as well. So my last little thought was 2 things that I see that leave in coaches is their discipline. They forget their discipline, and they forget their confidence. So again, back to the discipline piece, that's reminding them, like, this will take time. This won't happen overnight. You have to keep consistency with your own journey, and with those around you. And you have to keep your confidence up. And that's something that we can do as coaches, is when we start to notice girls on our team struggling, lift them up, empower them, show them that they can do this, ask them what they need help with. So that's part of being a good leader on your team too, is understanding like what your teammates need from you. Like maybe you have a coach who's like really independent and she just rocks and she doesn't need a lot from you, and that's awesome. But maybe you have a coach who just needs a little bit more encouraging. And maybe, that's your response. That's, again, not I don't want to say your responsibility, but that's something that you can do to help them succeed. Maybe it's like a message every couple mornings saying like, hey, you got this, have a great day. Like send out 10 invites today, like whatever it might be. Figuring out what your team needs and what your ladies need to be successful will make you a better leader, and will help them from falling off the journey. So anyways, those are kind of my quick thoughts. Again, I pulled most of this from Summit, but I hope that was helpful. If you guys have any other questions, feel free to ask, I guess. Hopefully that was helpful.
It was so helpful. I loved your, when you talked about just messaging them every couple of days and just being like, here's a task for you, like go ahead and complete that. I like how you talked about breaking the coach onboarding process down a little bit easier and making it simple, because it can be so overwhelming. And I think that's definitely something that like I took away from it. Like it can be so overwhelming. So trying to think of like what I would have needed when I first started and breaking it down and just keeping it like super sweet and simple. I know it's like, I think that's where a lot of coaches get stuck, right? Like they never actually get their feet off of the ground because they're like, holy crap, like I have to do this, I have to do that, I have to do this, I have to post here, I have to check in here, I have to set up my website. And then they're just like, okay, I can't handle this. So it definitely takes a lot of discipline, like you said, and like pushing outside of your comfort zone. So I think those are really, really meaningful points that people should take away from. So perfect. You did so good.
Thank you. Well, one other thing actually that I was thinking of is going back to like remembering your coach's why. Like I ask my challengers every month like what their goals are, and I think that's important to do with your coaches too, to help keep them accountable. And again, like when you see them struggling a little bit, sometimes there's nothing you can do about it, unfortunately. But a lot of cases, like if you catch it early enough and you notice that they're struggling, like sometimes all they really need is a little bit of encouragement and a little bit of support from you. And that really goes a long ways. Like even if it's just a quick message, and this goes for your challengers too. Like if they're struggling, sometimes all they need is a quick message from you saying like, hey, you've got this. I noticed you're having a rough few days. What can I do to help support you? In that sense, Nicole's really good about that, and I think that's something that makes a really good leader too. So just like recognizing again like what your team needs from you, I think makes you a really successful leader. And people join your team for a reason. So remember that too. Like there's a reason they started. I say that about my challengers all the time. Like when I have a challenger that's struggling, I'm like, okay, there's a reason they decided to do this. What was it? Can I remind them of that? So same with your coaches. Like there's a reason they picked you. There's a reason they want to be on your team. Sometimes they just need a little bit of reminding too. So I'll shut up now. I just thought of that.
Oh my gosh. No, I'm so glad that you spoke up, and you definitely like that's so true, right? Because we cannot like get the best of us and get so full with our schedules that we often lose sight of our why and like our reason. So I think that we all need reminding, and I think being vulnerable and asking for help, like when we need it, and putting ourselves out there can be so scary, right? Like, and having that feedback and that critique, like it's almost like you clam up and then we don't ask for help because we're nervous of what the response is going to be. But like if we are not seeking that, the constructive criticism and seeking that support when we need it the most, like that's when really are going to continue to struggle, and it's just gonna be downhill from there. And that's ultimately when coaches start quitting and just falling off the radar. So no, I'm glad that was really good, Kels. Thank you. So I want to give you a little stat. So like there's like close to 400,000 coaches, probably at this point, way more than that. But like really only 5% are active coaches. Like that's so crazy to think about. Like only 5% of the coaches in this network actually are like actively coaching, and helping and serving others and really taking advantage of this business, right? Some reasons that I've put together for what I've experienced as far as coaches that quit. And I've had so many people, so many rejections, so many people just completely ghost and stop coaching. And they ultimately quit, right? Because stuff gets hard in their life. Like they let that shit get the best of them. Um, because they aren't, like Kelsey said, like committed to that why, or often lose sight of it. And so like if we always have this in our minds that we are in this to serve others, like that's what we as human beings are, right? Like we are here to serve others. That's our purpose in life, believe it or not, is to serve others and to be better than we were the day before. So if we keep that in the back of our minds while we are sharing our journey and working on ourselves and prioritizing, people are going to be committed to us. And I think that's so important to show that we are committed to them, not only within this as a business aspect, but also a friendship aspect. I would definitely put that at the top of the totem pole. You know, like being a leader and being a support in this business is so, so important, but also being a friend and a support like in personal life is what is going to be the most foundational and important piece that we can have as strong, empowering women, right? So just remembering not to lose sight of that. And if you have people quit on you and quit on this team and ultimately quit on themselves and their why, like still check back in with them, right? Because we still have that friendship, and just letting them know that we are caring about them. Post, I can't remember her name now, the one that I had posted, she was wearing a banana shirt. She was talking about
Kelsey Smith.
Yes. She was talking about how she still checks in with people that have quit on her, that have stopped doing her challenge groups, because she is a friend first and foremost. So I always want to remind our team of that. Like we need to be supporting one another through life's obstacles. And remember that like this is a job, right? Like believe it or not, like we get paid to work out, to be healthy, to share our journey, and to help others and to make sure that they are staying accountable with their life goals. And it needs to be treated like a job. Like this, believe it or not, is a job. It's a freaking job. Like how cool is that? But if we aren't taking it seriously and being committed to it, like we are a CEO of a business and sticking to that, like it's going to be really hard to be consistent, to be disciplined. And I think that's what makes our team so special is we have a lot of self-starters, a lot of people who when they go all in, they go all in. Like they're balls to the walls, want to make this work for them, want to make this work for them, their families, and focus on their whys. So if we just keep that in the back of our minds, and I would even say like the forefront of our mind, that we need to be treating this like a business, and in return, it will treat us like it's a business and reward us like a business. And like this is a job, right? Like I already mentioned that, but this is also like a really cool opportunity and it's so rewarding. It definitely fills our buckets, right? To be checking in with our challengers and checking in with our coaches and see how their lives have been changed, whether it's mentally, physically, financially, like whatever areas they are wanting to improve. Like this is a platform to freaking rock it and help them meet their goals. And I would rather view the people that who are telling us no or who are quitting on themselves and quitting on the team, view those people as a challenge to constantly remind themselves that they are worth it. And it's not, you know, like once you quit, like you can always come back. Like that door is always going to be there. Our team is always going to be here. But just know that like rather viewing the people that are saying no or not right now, like that doesn't mean no, not ever again, or no, they never want to do that. Like don't stop doing what you are doing. Keep continuing to form a relationship with your coaches, with the community on this team page, within your challenge groups, and keep checking in with them, because once we stop doing those vital behaviors, once we stop caring about people and really focusing on serving others, like we will lose sight of everything as to why we started this business in the first place. This again is why I see coaches quit, is because they stop doing the vital behaviors. They stop inviting, like Kelsey said. They stop doing their personal development. They stop filling their minds with positivity. They stop connecting with the community and connecting with their why. Basically, they simply let life get the best of them. And although it happens to us, right? Like there's been instances where I'm like, screw this. Like I just need some downtime. I just need to just like sit here and just be by myself. Like the difference between that and the difference between letting that get the best of me is that I get up at the end of the day and I check into our team page and I use this community as fire and use it to light my passion. And I know that you two, all of you ladies are here obviously for a reason. And I know that you can definitely continue to do that, and simply do not ever stop caring. Like, do not ever stop recognizing that we are all human beings and we long that sense of community. Like, that is such a huge piece within this business and within life, that like we drive like 95% of our choices by our emotions and how we feel. And if we don't feel belonging, if we don't feel that support, then we're going to completely run away. And like Kelsey said, like, we can't force our coaches and our challengers, especially to start this journey, to continue this journey. But what we can offer them is that sense of community and continue to push them towards their why and offer support. Brooke always says, like, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. And that has always stuck with me, right? Because like, we can give our coaches all of the resources in the world. Like, I mean, you've seen our files on this team page, like there's a shit ton of them, but people, even though they know that they're there, they continue not to check into them. They continue to not do those vital behaviors in the cover photo. So we can't force them. We can only give them reminders and remind them of their why, tell them that these are the resources. But if they aren't going to do the work, like, you can't sit down there, hold their hand and do the work for them. Like, that's not going to be successful. That's just going to enable them and coddle them and make them really, really lean on you for their success. And then they will blame you and blame the system when they should be taking personal responsibility for their actions and their successes and failures. I think that too, like, this coaching journey does not have to be complicated. It's laid out for us on the cover photo of the daily vital behaviors. As long as you are doing those daily, and there's days, right, where I don't invite anyone, or I do like 20 minutes of personal development instead of 45 minutes. Like, it's going to vary based upon what you have carved out in your schedule and what you make time for, where you are at in your conversations, and where you are at within your challenge groups. Like, there's going to be days where you do a lot of it, basically, is what I'm saying. And there's days where you're going to do maybe like a half an hour of your power hour. As long as you are showing up on your social media pages and checking in with the people that have said yes to you, that is the most important thing, because then you're showing people that you're consistent and you're never going to give up on them, because they don't want you to give up on them. That's why they joined you in the first place, right? Like, because you are a strong support for them. And we have a role as a coach when we onboard someone as a new coach or as a challenger. We have a freaking role in this business, in this life, and it is a human being to stick with them and to never give up on them. I've seen so many coaches start challengers and fizzle out. Like, they aren't even doing their own workouts, aren't drinking their shakes, are not even showing up in the challenge group. And these people have invested money into them. They've invested money into them, and they're not, like, being a part of this community in the sense they aren't getting the full experience. And that definitely has resonated with me. I hope that resonates with you, that like, these people ultimately, when they are investing the financial piece of it, they are investing that into you. And so it is your duty as a coach to freaking invest that back into them. Something that I have heard as well is that, right, like, we've all heard this, like, I'm too busy, and I like seriously want to vomit when people say that. But it's a reality of life, right? Like, we all have full schedules. And so I really challenge you all to say, like, when life is busy, like, that's great. Like, acknowledge it for a minute, but then really think about, like, yeah, dude, my life is full and I'm so blessed and I am able to do these things. I get to do these things, not like I have to do these things. Like, you don't have to show up for coaching. You don't have to show up for your friends on your social media pages. You don't have to show up for your kids. Like, you get to freaking do this, and you get to live this beautiful life that you create. So I want us all, right, to stop wearing busy as this like badge of honor that we have, this thing that like, it's like biggest pet peeve. Like I said, I just need to vent for a minute. I've messaged so many people within these last 2 weeks, just being like, hey girl, how are you? Like, trying to carry on like a sincere conversation. And I will get like, oh, I'm just so busy. Okay, but that doesn't even answer my question. Like, how, like, literally, how are you? Like, busy does not describe, busy is not an emotion. It's not a feeling. Like, like, really sit down and take a sincere look at that conversation. And if that person and if that coach is like, I'm just too busy to handle this, then all you can do, you guys, is just support them, give them the tools. And if when they're ready to run with it, they'll run with it. When they're ready to reach out with you or reach out to you for support, they will do that too. It's their decision. Like, we can't force them on this coaching thing, because the more we force them, the more they are going to put their blinders on and totally just like give up and quit. And like, I know that this is going to be blunt. This might not resonate well with a lot of people, but like, I look at this business and I think about this opportunity and what it has done for me, what it has done for my family, what I'm sure you're thinking right now, like, what has this opportunity awarded you? Like, just think about that right now. Like, and I think that people are a little crazy when they say like, no, thank you. Like, they tell us, no, thank you to our challenge group, or no, thank you to our coaching opportunity. Like, I just am so passionate about this and truly believe that it is a gift that we have. And sometimes people just don't see the value in this, and they never will see the value in it. But like, realistically, like, it's crazy because this can award so many opportunities. So many people are working like 3-4 different jobs. Well, this opportunity can really award that that chance to have a flexible schedule, pay off student loan debt, pay for a car, pay for a house, different things like that. And so it's really up to us to show them like, this is what's possible if you put the time into it, if you are consistent with it, if you are dedicated, because that's truly what is going to equal success. I posted this earlier to my page, and I was listening to a podcast. Oh my gosh, I can't remember which one it was, if it was an Oprah one, but it talked about how we are the most depressed, anxious, obese, and medicated like Americans ever. Like, just sit on that for a minute. Like, this opportunity and this platform, and just being a real freaking human being, can really speak to us. Like, so why don't more people do more things about this, like being obese, being medicated? But instead, we go back to our life that was miserable before. When things get hard, we start self-medicating, alcohol, drugs, whatever that may be, and we totally hide in our little shell. And so it's up to us as coaches to show our challengers, show our coaches and our team that, like, you can do this. Like, you are so worth this, and you just need to take this opportunity and remember your why and focus on that. Put your blinders on. Be you. Don't worry about anything else that's going around you. And that's going to be hard. That was one of the hardest things for me as a coach. I was constantly comparing and letting comparison like kind of wreck my vibe for who I was and what I was bringing to the table. So as coaches, like, I think if we have our heads down, right, we keep our eyes on our own paper and we continue to show up every single day, like, there's no way in hell that we are going to give up on this opportunity, and give up on our why. And like Kelsey said again, like, really having that discipline to treat this like a business is really going to continue to light your fire. And know that when you are getting told no, know that when your coaches are quitting on you, that like, there's more that you can be doing. And that is to invest in yourself, because we project whatever we're feeling. We project whatever we've been through onto our team, onto our community. So just remember that, like, we can fill our buckets up and we can invest more into ourselves. And ultimately, that's going to help our business grow and completely transform. And if you have this mindset of growth, if you have this mindset that this is a business, but most importantly, this is an opportunity to form that community and to form lifelong friendships, then we will continue to completely change our lives, and just freaking rock this thing. Like, I think we have such an amazing team. We're so blessed to really know one another, like, on a deeper personal level. And I think that's so cool, because I don't know what other kind of jobs like encourage you to invest in yourself and invest in your relationship piece of it. I feel like today in society with jobs, like, it's so superficial and it's so performance based, but really in this community, like, we're all about helping others. And if that means that you hit Success Club 40, or if you hit Success Club 0, like, you are still reaching out to people and you are still attempting to transform their lives. And you're transforming your life by just pushing yourself outside your comfort zone, right? So I think that's pretty great too. So I'll get off my what's that called? Gosh dang it.
Soapbox.
Yes. Thank you.
Something else that I was just thinking of when you were saying that, Nicole, was I remember when I first started, and I don't know like where everyone else is at as far as like Casey and Amy, especially with like your workout portion of like doing you and sharing your journey. But I remember when I started, like I had to like I basically jumped right in. Like I don't know how long you guys were challengers first, but I basically jumped right into coaching. And it took me a really long time to like get fitness like ingrained into my daily life. Like I never thought that it would be something that I would want to do. I thought it would always be something that like, oh, another thing on my checklist today. Where now like I love fitness. Like I crave my workout every day. I love it. Like it's not like a check off my list sort of thing. It's like, yay, I gotta go work out this morning. And I never ever thought I would be there. And now I'm finally starting to get there with my business too. Like when I first started, I was like, oh, I have to power hour. Like, I don't want to do this tonight. I'm tired. I want to go to bed, whatever it might be. But it's like, give it time. Like, keep being consistent and like making a habit out of it. Just like we tell our challengers too. Like, it will become a habit for you, and you'll be excited to sit down and like. Emily is really good about talking about this. I always think like reaching, like I love sitting down and like chatting with girls who are like-minded and whatever like the case might be, and that comes a time, like just keep being consistent with it and you'll be like, oh, this is so fun. Like when you finally start to get a groove and figure out like what you're about, it becomes like fun, and then you forget that you're working. I don't know. I'm starting to get to that point, and I think that's kind of fun.
No, I totally agree. And I know, Amy, you have set business hours, which I definitely suggest for all of us. I think that, especially as people with full schedules, right, like it's important for us to have kind of some like relaxing time to be present and just to unwind. And by setting business hours, then we aren't constantly feeling like we're like have our like phones like. So like the teenage clients I work with, like literally are like Snapchatting as they're like walking, and I'm just like, that's such like a good reminder that like we are not our phones. We have lives outside of Beachbody, right? And it's important that we're sharing them. But like we don't need to be sharing every minute of it. Like we can like work in the morning for a little bit and then work after the kids go to bed and post in between, but not spend 25 minutes trying to figure out a freaking post and make it perfect. Like spend like 3 to 4 minutes on it. And I think it's super important to recognize that like, right, like restaurants or shops have business hours. So I think it's totally appropriate for us. So I highly encourage that, Amy. And I just want you to know, like, we all respect that. And I don't ever want you to, and I hope this isn't the case, but I don't ever want you to feel like you can't be good at this business because we're studying business hours. Like that people are just going to have to understand that like your family is always going to come first. And that's, I think, something that makes you super special, because like most of us aren't at that point in our lives, right, where we were like have football like so many nights and then have like other stuff going on and like trying to make dinner, and like I have Jenny, but like she's pretty easy at this point in time for the most part.
I think it's funny how you touched on the part about when people say that they're busy. Don't tell me about busy. Like I don't want to hear. I don't want to hear what your reasons are busy are, because I don't even have time to tell you what my busy is. But like I agree with you. That's not a feeling. That's not how you're feeling. That's what you're doing. And busy isn't always a good thing either, because it could mean that you are completely unfocused and unscheduled, and it's busy work. Busy work doesn't mean success. Mm-hmm. So that's something that I've learned. And just this last week was just it was the business hour part of it for me was, I knew that it was always there. I knew that's what it would be, but I'm also at the part where I don't want to miss something. You know, I don't want to miss a potential person that's needing me or somebody reaching out to me and I waited an hour too long to respond to them because I thought something, you know, I needed to be doing something else. So it's that in between. It's not balance, because you're not trying to balance it. It's just making it all work out.
And it's super exciting, right? When people message you and they're like, tell me more about this. And like, you get that. I had to turn notifications off on my phone, so that way I'm not constantly like responding to people for like Facebook Messenger. And last night I just got to the point where I felt like I was constantly checking it. Like, and like, no, I'm going to delete the freaking app off my phone. And so that's what I did. And I didn't check it for the rest of the night. So I think too, like if you need to do that and that if it gets to that point, like it's so exciting, right? Because if you have people that are like, tell me more about this, or I want to sign up, and we're just waiting for them to sign up because you're like so close to Success Club, and obviously that's a goal, right? For all of us as coaches. And it's so exciting, but like just if you constantly remind yourself of your why and you just trust the process and trust like you as a professional, trust you as a human, like it's gonna work out. Like you just need to keep telling yourself that, freaking manifest it, write shit down on a piece of paper and just keep recognizing that stuff. Like it's gonna happen, and to trust the process, like put belief into the process, because once you do that, like you'll have a weight lifted off of your shoulders.
And Amy, use your messenger as like an email. Then you, like, if you frame it like it's my email, I think that helped me too. I remember going through that same thing. I mean, I treat it a little more like loosely with you guys, where I just like send quick responses or whatever. But with like people you're talking with, I treat it as more of an email. You know, like no one expects an immediate response from an email. And you can tell people that too. Like, sorry, I haven't looked at this in 12 hours. Like, I treat my messenger as an email. I tell that to people all the time.
Yeah, I definitely like, and especially if they ask. If they don't ask, I'm more like, whatever. Like, you can wait for my response. Like, changing Jenny's diaper is more important than responding to a message. So, and I think it's totally appropriate, like I said, to turn off notifications on your phone and whatever you have to do. Obviously, it's super exciting, and like we want to be successful in this. I think that's what makes it so special for us. And I know, Amy, I'd seen your post about like, okay, so this is a good reminder for everyone. So like whatever resources or whatever questions can be found within this team page. So if you're feeling like you're spending a lot of time like looking for stuff, just go ahead and either message me or post to the team page, and then someone will get, so like that way you aren't spending, like I remember, I'm like, where the hell is this at? I can't find it. So I just posted to the Bod Squad team page, and someone like got me an answer right away, because someone is working on their power hour, someone's by their phone. So definitely use the page like that, so that way we aren't spending looking through all of those files, because like even when I know where stuff is, I still overlook it. I'm like, shit, where is that answer? I know it's in here somewhere. So know that like you can ask anything of any of us. So I just want us to be using our time as wisely.